Hello and welcome to the Matthew Allton Art channel. This is the first video on this channel and I thought I would start by doing a sketchbook showcase type of video. In January of 2025 I subscribed to an organisation called Studios. It's based in the UK and they put on live demos, portrait sessions that are an hour long every Sunday and live drawing sessions that are an hour long on every Wednesday. People can sign in from all over the world and they can paint along or draw along while a professional artist demonstrates how they go about the process. And we all draw from a photograph of a model. As I say, I joined at the beginning of January and thought I'd give it a go for a few months. I've actually just recently unsubscribed and my subscription will run out at the beginning of April. It's not because I don't think it's a great thing. It's just that it's becoming spring in the UK now and I'm hoping that there'll be other stuff to paint and draw outside and I can get out and about far more than sitting at home looking at a computer screen and learning to draw and paint from a video tutorial. The tutorials are really great though, the artists are really good. And I have done, I think, every Sunday portrait session and I think most of the live drawing sessions on Wednesdays as well since I've been joined. So I thought it would be really nice to have a look through all of the portraits that I've done. I think one thing I've learned since I started this artistic journey back in early 23, is that practice does make perfect, or certainly improves your work. I wouldn't say my work is perfect by a long shot, but I think practicing regularly and sticking with a certain subject for a while and maybe a certain medium is good for improving your abilities. So hopefully that you'll see that there's an improvement through these. I mean, I have been doing portraits quite often over the last couple of years since I started refocusing on art. But certainly I've not done as many as I have done since joining Studios. So this is the first portrait, as you can see. It's an older lady with glasses up on her head. And it was an unusual one for me. This is the first one that I did with them early January, in that it was using brown coloured pencil, which is, I'm not used to using coloured pencils at all. So new medium, and that's always a struggle, of course. I think as an artist, whenever you use something that you're not used to using, you're never going to create a masterpiece. But I actually ended up quite pleased with this portrait. It was a fairly good likeness, and not too bad compared to everybody else's, because everybody composed their work on the Raw Studios for people to look at, and it stood up quite well amongst those. And I was quite pleased with it, especially for a medium that I'm not used to using so much, as I say. I might do time-lapse videos of these actually being created and post those on this channel as well. So watch out for those if you're interested in portraiture. There will be all sorts of different topics covered on this channel, but we're just starting with this portrait showcase video so that people can see what I've been doing in the last couple of months, really. This one I wasn't pleased with. I did it in a very small moleskin sketchbook that I'd bought in the sales on the run up to Christmas. And I really struggled with it. It's a very small sketchbook and the paper is very rough. And I think I struggled with this one partly because of the size. The previous one was A4. And I think when you do portraits very small, every tiny mark that you make is exaggerated. And it can be a millimetre or a half a millimetre out, and that ruins the likeness of a portrait. So my advice probably, if you're getting into portraits, is work bigger rather than smaller. Certainly sort of life size really, I would suggest. But this one definitely doesn't really look like the model particularly, and there's all sorts of weird malformations of her face. It is, I have to say, the worst one that I've done since I've been doing these Raw Umber sessions. And it's good that I improved from this point, I think, really. This was the next one that I did. A very challenging lighting condition in this one, in that there was light shining from sort of the side, each side of the model, and from behind a little bit. So the front of the face was in shadow, which is quite unusual, I think, really. And one of the good things about the Royal Rumba Studios photo references, they've got a photo library of references that you can use royalty free, is that they tend to be quite interestingly and well lit, interestingly lit and well lit. So this was a bit of a challenge for me. I have not been great at portraits, but it wasn't a terrible likeness. There are things wrong with it. The eyes are too light, for instance. They should be much more in shadow and those sorts of things. But I have learnt from this one. This one was done in pastel and charcoal, I think, on grey paper. And overall, I was quite pleased with it when I did it. I think I've improved since, but I was quite pleased with the lighting effect that I got on it generally. The next one, I returned to the small moleskin sketchbook with the rough paper, and this one I was quite pleased with, and the likeness was quite good as well. I'd been doing at the end of 2024 other portraits in this small moleskin sketchbook in pencil, and I was quite pleased with how they turned out. And this was one of those that I sort of quite liked. There's been a lot of characterful faces in these portraits from Royal Rumba Studios, and that's a good thing. And when you're starting out, it seems possibly harder to do somebody who's all wrinkled and old, but actually I think you'll probably find that it's easier because there are more reference points on the face to get the positioning right of the eyes, the mouth, the nose, and all the main features, the ears and those sorts of things of a portrait. So that you've got more creases and things to line things up with and get angles correct and accurate. So I think it's easier to do older faces generally. And this was a bearded chap that was the reference photograph. And again, I quite enjoyed doing this one, and I enjoyed the outcome of it. Moving on, there is another charcoal and white pastel pencil sketch here. I was quite pleased with this one. This one was an improvement. It was A4, so a bit bigger and easier to do from that point of view. Again, there were issues with it. Don't forget, all of these sessions are only an hour long, so these portraits are what's been created in that hour. I don't go over the hour. As soon as the session's finished, that's it. That's the result. It's about practice, not a polished piece of work at the end for me. But again, I quite like the lighting on this. The lighting on the original photograph was quite good. These were all about sort of using a tonal range, and the grey paper in these works is the mid-tone, and then you add white pastel for the highlights and charcoal for the shadows. And overall, I think this one was quite successful, certainly for an hour, as I say. The next one was an Asian lady. Struggled with this one a little bit, and this one wasn't on grey paper. I actually toned white paper using charcoal before I started, and then used a putty rubber to erase the highlights on this portrait. I was pleased with the sort of look and feel of this one. It wasn't a particularly accurate likeness, but it certainly is a nice portrait, I think. And I've captured well the person looking over their shoulder and looking down and to their right quite well, I think. She looks quite reflective and as if she's in thought, I think, really, on that one. Again, charcoal and white pastel, but mainly charcoal on that one. Another female one for the next one, 3/4 on again. They try and vary when they're doing these sessions with all sorts of different lighting and different angles for you to work with. And this one was quite okay. I'm at the point there where I can get quite a good human looking face, but I often have a mistake somewhere in it. So I need to tighten up on that really and try and make no mistakes. So, for instance, on this one, you can see that the eye on the left, which is her right eye, is a bit big and a bit the wrong shape. But other than that, it sort of is quite a nice looking portrait, I think, really, certainly for the hour that these sessions take. So not too bad overall. This one was a more recent one. I was really pleased with this one. It was quite difficult in that the lighting was coming from one side and sort of behind the model to a certain extent. So only very small areas of the face were highlighted. Most of it was in shadow. So this was about keeping the shadowed areas subdued and not too much detail in them. So your eye was distracted by that instead of looking at the lit part of the face, which is on the front of the face in this case. Again, a profile, so a bit different to what many of them have been. But overall, quite pleased with that one. I think it looks really quite peaceful, and it was a very good likeness as well, to be honest. This is the latest one here, and this is an Indian lady, and sort of looking up at her a bit from quite low down. I think I've managed to capture the pose quite well. Lightness is half there for me, but I was quite pleased with the folds on the sari and the arm and that sort of thing, and the balance of light and dark on this. This was on brown paper, as you can see, with the same idea that there was white pastel for the highlights and charcoal for the shadows. But I think generally it's quite a successful portrait. There was one other one actually that I don't seem to have a photograph of, which again was quite a successful portrait. Okay, well that's a quick look through what I've been up to since I joined Royal Rumble Studios. There's a few more sessions that I can attend until my subscription runs out, so there may be some more videos coming of those, and I may do some time-lapse videos of these, as I have videoed these as I created them. So if you're interested in seeing how they actually were built up rather than just to look at the end result, then keep posted. If you are interested in this channel and my journey to becoming a better artist and want to accompany me on that journey and improve yourselves as well, of course, then do subscribe. I'd be grateful for subscriptions. I'd like to get this channel monetized at some point so it can contribute to my material costs and things as I go forwards. So fingers crossed that I can actually manage to do that. Thank you for watching to the end if you're still here. And as I say, do subscribe if you can. Give it a thumbs up if you've enjoyed the video, and do comment on the video as well. I'd love to hear your thoughts on the work that I've created in this video. Any questions about Royal Rumble Studios, I'm happy to answer. I'm not sponsored by them in any way, but I will put a link to them in the description of the video so that if anybody is interested in attending for a while, they can subscribe. I think some of the portrait sessions, certainly at the end of the month, I think the last one of every month, is free for anybody to try. So you could perhaps sign up to one of those sessions and give it a trial sort of thing to see whether you think it's worth it. Okay, well, I will see you on the next one. Thank you for your patience and watching me. Okay, bye.